Welcome back, everyone. Gamers from all over the world. Welcome back to PCC number 7. We are in round 3 of the Swiss stages so far. My name is Ardog with the Triple G, and I am joined by Lance and Mugiwawa here at the desk. We are going to be watching for game number 3, Chefs and Indecisive. Both of these teams are 2-0 right now, and one of these teams will go down in defeat. With no hesitation, let's jump into this draft. All right, Mugi. Indecisive has been undefeated so far. Do you expect target bans coming out from the Chefs?
Well, as we have seen, like previously, Dirty Like and the boys going for targeting a little bit that Rampage. And if Chef is the first pick, that's a strategy that you can go, because if you are proficient with the Argus, like of course you don't have to ban it, you can force the enemy team to go to ban it, and suddenly you open up your option in a sense, because you can already like control the enemy's ban. So that's like one of the strengths of being the first pick in this kind of draft. But also, as we have seen, like there is like many like frontline that are very strong, the Quang, the Rampage, the Rictor, and you don't want to let like all of those open for the enemy team. So from like how the previous match has gone, I don't know if the Chef got the time to actually like do their homework and maybe check quickly what the match has been played before. And I don't expect the Chef to just like leave again with that like very like open ID. And so here we have the camera ban, and so they keep like everything open, and they ban the Argus on starting decisive, and that camera ban kind of tell me that they want to first pick Rampage. Otherwise, I don't really understand that. They want to get the Rampage for themselves off map, and probably then afterwards and remove it like from imports possibility. But that means answer could be Quang Rictor. So all 3 frontline are available. It's like a question of like which one the Chef wants.
It is, and that's a question that I think even if Indecisive had a bunch of time to research and look into it, they wouldn't be able to answer. I don't know if Chefs knows who they're picking going into it. I think that of the like top tier teams, Chef is the biggest wild card by quite a stretch. They play such weird stuff. We saw in the last PCC, Sneaks played Greystone mid in the semifinals. Like, you just never know what this team is going to pull out. So the Chimera ban, you're right, it indicates that they're looking for those 3 frontliners. But who knows? For all we know, they're about to first pick Shinbi. There's just really no saying, but it is going to be the Quang, it looks like, which is a good pick. Quang, a very powerful champion right now.
Decide to leave the Rampage in the hands of import. I would assume like Indecisive is going to pick it at that point. Also, like Rictor, we have seen Manq as playing exclusively that, has been very proficient with it. And I have to admit, like, I kind of can't wait for this like Manq Nef versus Cold Chi duo lane matchup, because those 2 duo lane, they love to go for kills and they know how to fight for kills. And so like I can't wait the action that is going to unfold on that lane, and having a Rictor support always like kind of levens things up, because the hook can set up things, but as soon as the hook is used, suddenly like it's all in fight, and that's always great to watch. On the other side, like I know that also like both of these carry love the race, and the race can also like be very deadly, can really snowball very fast, and so like maybe that's a pick also that will be contested by those 2 teams on each side.
We do have the next 2 picks coming through. It's gonna be the Belisha and the Steel. So one of the strongest heroes in the game with Bellica, and then just a CC bot in Steel coming straight out of Indecisive. A lot of flexibility as well. Steel can play 3 roles, Bellica can play 2, so not a lot of information revealed to Chefs. But I've said it before, I'll say it again. I don't think Chefs cares who you're playing. Chefs are going to lock in what they want to play. They're going to play it where they want to play it, and they're just going to try to outskill you and out-execute you. That's a tall task against Indecisive. We watched them in these last 2 games take down 2 pretty good teams. What they did to D-Lab is something that is going to put a lot of people on notice. It does not matter that these guys are all EU pingers right now. They are standing on their heads. They're playing out of their damn minds. They just beat one of the best North American teams in the tournament. So what do you think they're going to go through? The Rampage is still up?
The Rampage is still up. The Rictor as well. To be fair, like, okay, so we go for the Rictor Gideon. So apparently like no team are interested by the Rampage. Both teams are looking to go like through it. And so here we have already to be like Rictor is a very good pick, but it needs to not be your sole frontlaner because it's very hard to play sole frontline. You get picked up very easily, and Quank already take care of that part. So the Richter kind of work well here, and this Richter can still like be a flex. It can still be jungle, it can still be offlane, can still be support, so they don't like reveal everything. I have to admit though, on the side of Indecisive, I'm very surprised by that Steel pick because Moros is not a big fan of it. I feel like blindly picking Steel for support is something that is very risky. And also like it's good on import, but still in the jungle is still like kind of slow. And I feel like picking it early in the draft means that you offer like a lot of opportunity for the enemy team to counter that as well. So I feel like this Steel is drafted a little bit early, but hopefully like Indecisive is going to prove me wrong inside the match. And also like maybe the side on the chef. So here we got the Decker secured. Probably for support, we're already like locking the support role, the mid role, and potentially like here still offlane jungle is kind of open on the side of Indecisive. But I was willing to mention a little bit the chef has like this very like old way of drafting, but also like they got just like a roster change recently with Seismic joining the team, and we all know that Seismic has the notebook strat in a sense, so maybe Seismic has a little bit of influence of when the draft are coming. And now we also have Sneaks that have shifted away from mid lane to the off lane, so I don't expect to see any Greystone mid lane from Seismic, to be honest, but potentially like Sneaks was already practicing his move towards off lane in a sense.
I'm pretty positive that Sneaks is in the offlane here, especially when you see the traditional mage locked in. Even when Sneaks was in mid, he's playing Kalari, he's playing Shinbi, he's doing Greystone, he's doing things that are not what you typically see from a mid laner. So very, very likely that is Seismic. I know he's a very proficient Gideon as well. See the Drongo ban come out of Chefs. Want to keep that off of Neft, which makes a lot of sense, but I mean, you can't ban the whole ADC pool against Neft. He can play whatever he wants. We might even see the Sparrow out of him, honestly.
I'm actually, like in Indecisive, I've been practicing a little bit of face Sparrow from some scrims, but here, of course, Decker Bellica already is secured, so we won't see that game. And yeah, both carry are still up, so some people can say like it's kind of odd to go for a ban on a carry, but at the same time, Indecisive can't really like afford to go too much on a ban for a carry because the chef has the first pick after that second banning phase, and so that kind of you can actually limit the pool of like the ban plus the character you're going to pick, so it makes it like very interesting to go for this type of strategy, focusing on one of the role that is still like not on the enemy team but also not on your team, because you limit overall like kind of the counter pick. So here on the side of Indecisive, we're still looking for the second ban, and that's going to be a ban rampage. So in the end, they're still unsure where this Richter is going to go, where this Quang is going to go, and they don't want the rampage to be there, and they actually like go for the Murdoch pick here on the side of Indecisive. And that means that in terms of like good pick that comes with the Richter, if the Richter ended up in the support role, of course there is still the rest, and the rest, to be fair, like against the enemy team, there is only the Steel that can really like dive him for now, and there's not really like very strong people that can stuck to him, but Greystone is still an option later on for the offlane. And that's like basically it. Like Kira, like it's not good with Richter. Twin Blast, not ideal either. So I feel like here Cold is maybe like forced toward that carry.
It will be interesting to see what they decide to go to. We are going to round the team comp out for Chef, so probably going to get a decent amount of answers in here, as they should be coming in the next couple of seconds. Still have some options. We do see a Phase and a Twin Blast, so going to be Zihi and Cold over here on that. Lots of ways to keep Cold safe, which if you've ever played a game with or against Cold, you know that he's the priority. So very good drafting out of Chefs. I'm eager to see Zihi on this phase, as well as kind of an awful character to have to play against if they're doing their job, standing in that backline, keeping that Twin Blast on a leash, and just yanking him away from any danger he could get into.
And also, of course, we have this synergy of the phase energy lens into the Replash later on in the match. Like, I feel like there is like kind of two directions on the Chef draft. Like, to be fair, Phase, Twin Blast, Richter, they will love to play on the open on the lane. Like, you get energy lens, you get like those ventilate, those long vortex grenade, vaporize. You have a lot of poke in the open like slot in the lanes. And here we're gonna round up the draft with the Greystone. like we said, like a lot of option has been like limited, but Greystone very strong at sticking to a phase to be like a big nuisance, because we were lacking a little bit of that dive potential to be a nuisance to that phase, and Greystone kind of fit that perfectly with Chimera, Rampage already banned. A lot of like options were not available. Could have been a Calari, to be fair, but Indecisive is not really the type to play Calari, and Calari on ping is not the most easy to execute, and can also like run down that Rictor. So overall, I'm quite interesting. Both strife are very fancy. They still like throwing me off guard. Rampage getting banned in the second banning phase. I never see that coming, to be honest, and I can't wait to see like those two top teams getting at each other like in the match.
Of course, and now we have this draft, Chefs versus Indecisive. Lance, we're looking at this team comp from Indecisive. What is the team fight and what kind of combinations are we seeing coming from them?
This is a Protect the President comp. This is, Neft is going to win this game for us, and if they can put Neft behind, other than potentially some of the damage from the Bellica, there's not much left for Indecisive. And I think that plays into Chef's favor because of having this phase pick, because of having Gideon Quang. Lots of ways to get back to where the Murdoch is going to be, lots of ways to blow him up, CC him. They do have a decent amount of peel with the Steel and the Decker and the Bellica, but I think that this game revolves around what Neft is going to be able to do for Indecisive.
On the other side, though, Mugi, we've got the Chefs. What are the strategies going into game number 3 that you're seeing based on this team comp?
Well, there is like one interrogation, but I assume the Rictor is going to go jungle, and so suddenly you have like some pretty good gank onto the dual lane, like we said, the energy lance into the hook, and that could be good against like the Murdoch, like very hard to stop, but we have the Decker to stop that. Very strong scaling from the dual lane side, while the rest is pretty strong at like forcing some like aggression. And I feel like a big portion of that match for the Chef is like how this Gideon can get like priority against this Bellica thanks to the support of like their jungler to be able to rotate and impact like the side lanes, because by themselves the side lanes will have like a little bit of struggling.
And they definitely will, or will they? Well, we'll have to find out. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, game number 3 with Woofy, GG, and Falcon.
I completely saw what you did there, R-Dog. Thank you so much to the desk with Mugiwawa and Lane Cecil. Now we're here. The menu card is so filled up. We eating good as a Predecessor community. My name is WoofGT, and I'm joined here by Falcon to break down this amazingly interesting game between two amazing teams, the Chefs and Indecisive. We've seen Indecisive win, just absolutely demolish their opponents for 2 games. So let's see if the third one is a little bit different.
Yeah, well, you've got to remember, Chefs has also done this. Both of these teams have not lost a single game today so far. And, well, that's going to end within this game. One of these teams is going to go undefeated. One of these teams is going to take their first loss of the tournament. And, I mean, at least for me, on paper, both of these teams can easily win. They are... I mean, both of these teams are just great players, great teams overall, and both of these comps have got their advantages, have got those weaknesses that was explained in the desk already. At least for to me, though, this is going to be all about the dual lane. It's going to be about how strong Neft can get and how impactful this phase can be.
Yeah, FaZe is such an interesting hero because it's not seen that often, but once it's on the field, you can realize the potential behind it. Those telekinetic links can get you out of the fray in a quick succession, or you can, for an example, just root down a target for an easy kill with the energy lance, so you just have so many tools at your disposal.
I mean, I'm surprised we haven't seen more FaZe, honestly. I do think she is a pretty strong character. Obviously, she's not going to be the best frontliner or anything like that, but she can keep a carry alive. And Steph's comp is very similar to Indecisive, where Cold is their main carry. He is going to be the one who will do most of your damage. And we've got a small fight in the duo lane, but if either of these teams get their duo lane ahead, this is where their win condition is going to be. And basically, both these junglers are also going to be around that, because both of them are playing those facilitating junglers, those straight-up tanks. They're not going to be carrying these games. And outside of maybe the mid lane, where Shin has been known to pop off on this Bellica as well, there's not really anything else these teams want.
Yeah, it's like you have the perfect recipe for success, right? And that's what we need to keep a look at to see which of these two tank junglers will be able to keep it steady. But right now, Manq is harassing a little bit onto Z here, and he has to keep his distance. But it does mean that the HP is very balanced across the board. Manq, though, being a little bit lower than Z here at this point.
And now that Z has got level 2, he can get that link, and that means Cold is going to get that healing coming through from the phase passive as well. So anytime she uses that energy lance, they are going to slightly heal. Not a massive amount, not like a Narbas, but that will provide a difference as we get a gank into the mid lane. Import is nowhere near, though.
Sadly, there was not a Riplash to connect in that very situation, so that's just going to be a quick reset as the river buffs goes the way of the chefs right there. Mav had an unfortunate little rotation there, but I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do. Right now, though, Sneak seems to be in trouble as Import is coming in from the river. The blink had to be extended, and that just means it's a free silent buff, most likely for the side of Indecisive.
I mean, Import has got that Hunter. That's not going to stop. Sneaks does get that level 4, so he is still ahead in terms of level. But of course, Morose has not taken that wave yet, so that will even out eventually. And both soldiers want to gank it part. Definitely in the favor of Indecisive. They got that blink onto the off the Krang, so he can go for that repeat gank. Morose is playing that Greystone, which is not the best carry in the game, but he can definitely be impactful in that mid game. That ultimate with the gigantic slow on top of it is going to be very impactful in these team fights. But a pretty quiet early game. But as I say that, Mav is around.
Mav is trying to see if he can get the Riplash to save his team from a boring early game. Sadly, that does not go through. And Neft and Manq are safe until the next engage. But seriously, Neft is so low right now, and he's been pressured up against his tower, which is very unusual to actually see from Neft in this situation.
No, it's just the amount of damage that comes out of Z hitting Cold. Cold has used his entire mana bar so far, and that's just mainly poking down Neft, using those Vortex grenades just whenever he can. Plus, of course, whenever the energy launch does hit and the root comes through, he can do some extra damage onto Neft, which has been entirely targeted at this stage of the game. So there's no surprises there. He is going to go for the reset at the same time the Ceph's dual lane does as well. So he's not going to lose too much. Import was also around 5 minutes robust coming up. He's probably going to take this side, while Sin is going to take the other. So that's going to be a return favor for the side of Say, who is not too bad with mana. He is basically full at this point in time. He had gone for the reset already, so he's not going to be worried about that too much. And we continue the farming. This feels like a very EU game so far, I'm not going to lie.
Absolutely. We are used to seeing this time and time again in the Fang Booth tournaments where the EU teams just want to farm until they are online. And online does not mean having a few items online. We are talking about almost a full build before we do any action. But that's also a really good way of keeping it safe and not taking any chances.
Yeah, but it's very boring. And hopefully
Of course.
Luckily, Fantics and mini finals are on the map, so that will at least cause some sort of action. But in the meantime, we do have the mid laners getting to that level 6. Say has it first, whilst Sin is going to be a little bit behind. I'm not too sure, but Mav is also looking, and is going to be able to hit it. Yes, he does!
There we go. Finally, Mav is online hitting a Riplash, the first one, 6 minutes in game. Shin does get out, though, with half HP. And it was an unfortunate situation that it didn't lead to more. But as you said, it's in the EU game, and we have to bite the bullet on that one. Oh, yeah, unless here that Cell comes in. He might actually do something, but no.
No. I was going to say, because of the gank in the mid lane, Seismic was allowed to rotate over the duo lane, and because Ceph's duo is doing pretty well at this point, they have been pushed in a little bit here, but that's because they just looked for the gold buff. And there might have been a first blood. There isn't, but there might have been. And there might have also been a first blood in off lane, but there isn't. So we're just going to continue farming up. What's your favourite type of minion, Riffy?
Oh, it's definitely the super minion. It's big and buff, and it can give me a hug, and it helps me push down the lane. So, like, I cannot complain about that. But finally, some action, goodness gracious, of first blood finally coming through at 7 minutes for Cold, making Chefs on top of this situation. I have been waiting for this. It was foretold in the prophecy.
Yeah, the energy launch into Rip Plus combo that the desk has mentioned before was used and used effectively. That's going to be the first blood, not only for Cess, but that is going to be a dead Neft, which is the perfect target for Cess to be in, because that is where indecisive damage is going to be, and the kill is onto Cold as well. The best character for Cess to have it on. He is going on to that on here, so we'll be going into that that Stormbreaker first item, stacking it up instead of the penetration build we normally see on Trim Blast. In this case, I do prefer the on hit. There is a lot of beefing tanks on the side of Indecisive, so you are going to want to be able to burst through those large HP pools, which the penetration Trim Blast doesn't do as well. But in return, he is going to struggle a bit against the 1v1s if Neft and Cold are found in the same lane.
Yeah, usually we see Neft being on top of things, but right now he has been met with adversity, and he has to keep himself safe to not be caught out and lose even more on this lane. But here's an energy lance from Zihi trying to capture someone, but Import is there to help. Now they're on the retreat. The Chefs don't want to cook with this one. The recipe is all wrong, and they have to get out of there just in time.
But Import actually takes more damage compared to Mav because of just the dual lane of Cess being in a better position than Indecisive. Nothing's going to come out of it either way because, I mean, it's a Steel and a Richter. Nothing is going to happen either way. But it's a good return gank from Import either way. Keeps their duo safe, which is the perfect case. Import is going to hunt, but Whiplash is going to go through Mav. Sight is also around, and Shin is not. But Import is going to pull us away to safety, and we are going to go back to farming! Woo!
Yeah, the Farming Simulator 2024 edition has released in open beta, and it's ready for free that you can download. But we can also get some action. Right now, there's actually an engage from the Chefs here onto the first Fangtooth. So we're finally actually seeing some action. I hope we can see it at some point while it's going on. But hey, I mean, it's freely given, so why do we care? We do care, however, about Import coming in from the side to try and see if he can get sneaks. Morose and Import trying to hold it up, but there is a Stoneforge Soul activated and hold the fort for now. Sneaks is so very, very pressured. Shin is coming as well. There's no way you can get out of this one. Neural Disruptor to the face. Shin getting a kill for the side of Indecisive.
But it took so long. Import missing multiple abilities meant that they couldn't kill Sneaks in a good amount of time, and this allowed Mav to kill the Fangtooth and then reset. So Indecisive's game plan was most likely to kill Sneaks and then rotate over to the mini Prime to trade it out. But in the end, because of how long it did take to kill him, that is not going to happen. We're going to get a Black Hole onto Sin, who is a full HP. He's going to take a slice more man damage, but that's about it, at least in the mid lane. It's going to allow Say to get a good amount of pressure and probably cause Sin to back, and this is probably going to allow Cess to even look for the mini Prime themselves at this one time. Now, my Say is going to recall, ignore me, we're going to go back to farming. This is my catchphrase at this point, isn't it?
Yes, and the news story is people farming 40 minutes in game. When does it stop? That's the headline we're having right here. But at the same time, it's all a matter of time because ManQ is here in the mid-river, stopping Say from getting the river buff. That's a quick rotation right there. Well played, but in the meantime, we're having the good old farming shenanigans going on, and it's not gonna change anytime soon.
No, it's also interesting that Say has gone for that combustion first item. Normally, against this sort of comp where you have a lot of frontline, you would go for the Megacosm to get that anti-HP item online, especially against like Greystone and stuff. Speaking of, he's going to get Whiplash. Morose, I'm not sure he's going to survive.
No, he is not. Map came from the side and said, hello, my baby, hello, my honey, hello, my old-time gal. And got another kill under the belt. Now they're getting Zihi as well with the combination of the Shield Bash and the Iron Strike. ManQ was helping out just in time. Now the Chefs are looking to get themselves an orb Prime. It's the mini version, but it's still very, very functional and very, very essential for their side.
Yeah, it's good to get Import to at least get a return kill against Morose, but there's no Fangtooth to be taken on that side of the map, so Mini Prime is going to be given it over to Sneaks. And overall, Cephs is definitely ahead in this early game. As the game does go on, it is going to be hard to really say which side scales better because multiple different members of each team scale differently, and I think it is pretty even overall. And I mean, it's going to depend on what Sneaks can do in the next couple of minutes. If he does die early, it is going to be bad. But in the meantime, I'm going to have a nice gank from Zihi to again press out Sin, who has not been having a good time in this mid lane. Though if you look at the level, he's actually a level up on Tusay. So although he has been pressed out multiple times at this point, he is definitely holding his own.
Yeah, Shin has just been keeping the farming going, following the rules of this game. And here comes Mankyu actually in from the river to try and get C. Sadly, it was also a wasted shield slam from Import. But as you said, like, Shin is actually ahead in the XP department because they've focused on the farming. So it has been helping out despite being pressured against their own tower.
Yeah, but look at this. Sneaks is doing so well. He's got a large amount of minions. He's actually going to take the first tower of the game. Morose is going to go low. He has got ultimate, I believe, so he should be fine. But in either case, Sneaks might be a bit too pissed up now.
Absolutely. Sneaks is getting hunted down by Morose and Import. There is not a lot you can do in this very situation, buddy, because Shin is keeping his Shin up and going over there as well. The pressure is there. Make way for Prince Morose as he's pushing you down. Here comes Shin with a beautiful, beautiful drone right there. Sneaks has no way out of this one, and that's another kill for Indecisive.
But they take another tower in the dual lane, so Cephs gets 2 towers over that place. He's probably going to take the mid lane tower as well. So Indecisive outer towers have all been taken down just to kill Sneaks, who, yes, he had mini farm, but he hasn't got a shutdown. He's only 0-1-1. So it's not like he's actually a huge member of Cephs at this stage of the game. So it's definitely a net gain for the side of Cephs in this stage of the game. Of course, Indecisive should be able to get those towers back at some point in the game if they do manage to keep even. But that is not the main priority, because the next priority is going to be that Fangtooth that spawns momentarily.
As soon as the Fangtooth spawns, that is where the next big fight is gonna commence. But at this time, if we look at the scoreboard, it looks to be pretty even across the board, Falcon.
Yeah, it looks like... so we got another kill. Mav is going to get caught out. If he gets killed here, Fangtooth is going to be Indecisives.
Yeah, there is a black hole coming on top here with the help from Mav to get another kill for the side of Chefs, and now they are on the hunt. They want to get another one on the tally, but Sneaks gets so low at that he has to be yoinked away from the fray while Sai is going deep. Mankyu is very low and has to blink out of the way, but they're still on the hunt from the Chefs. They know that they can keep it steady and go right back to the Fangtooth where they were last time.
Yeah, it's just the HP bars from Seth is so much higher than Indecisive. It's a 1-for-1 in the end, I believe. No, Mav didn't even die. I thought Mav died, but that was not the case. So that's going to be an easy second Fangtooth for the side of Seth. And, I mean, they are definitely in a good position at this point in time. And what I was going to say before all that chaos happened is, look at Seth's build. He's actually just going for the Time Flux Band. So what he's doing is popping it, using the taunt space to get forward, and then trying to assassinate Neft at this stage of the game with his full pen build, because if that is successful, it basically means that Cephs wins this team fight. And even if he doesn't kill him, if he gets him low enough to force Neft away, they still have a great advantage. So I actually do like this build. Let Cold deal with those tanks. All your target is the backline of Indecisive, and it's been working out great so far.
Yeah, a very ice-cold decision from Colt there to just go for the Stormbreaker immediately, and then afterwards the Sky Splitter to just be able to clear the path. And here's Import coming in with the Shield Slam right on top of Sihi. There's nothing you can do. You will go down. But I will agree with you that this build so far has been helping Colt out to keep his spread in his own oven compared to what Neft has been offering in other games previously.
Definitely. Then again, it is still Neft, so we can't count him out at any point. and Import is going to have a bit of issues. You don't want to go over there, my friend, as he is going to have to ball us away. Luckily, there's no follow-up CC for Import, but the black hole is going to be enough. Never mind, the blink out from Import is going to be good. Say is going to go very, very low. Manq is going to go over the top. The status bomb is going to be slam dunked into Say's face, who is going to take that death screen. Manq, that is a kill secure.
Manq is the second carry of Indecisive, by the way, just so you know. It's not a support, and you have to respect their name because they will go after you if they can see an opportunity for a jump and a ball to the face. So, beautifully executed by Manq once again. He is, in my opinion, one of the best Decker players in the game.
I mean, yeah, he's been showing it so far in this game. He has kept his team pretty well in it. Then again, we have to see around that third Fang Tooth or the second Mini Prime, because that will be spawning momentarily. We can see both teams grouping up. Though the problem is, Neft has reset. He's already going and walking towards that. Cold, meanwhile, has not even reset from the dual lane, so he's not going to be there. So this is going to be a 4v5 with the side of Indecisive, and we're going to see if they can actually do anything with it.
3 members of Indecisive are over here in the off lane, trying to see if they could pick off a target before the initial or prime fight. But so far, there's only Mav over on the Chefs trying to get a Whiplash in. That is where it connects. Sadly, though, for them, Manq knows how to get out of the fray. So that's just a reset right here. But they're still pondering around this Orb Prime pit. Who knows who will go for it first, but right now Neft has a target inside. It's Say using the torn space to get out. There is so much damage happening to Neft, and Say is as low as well. The long arm of the law is trying to connect, but it's not gonna go through. Cold, on the other hand, will go in and get Shin together with the skewer from his friend in need. And that's going to help them set themselves up for this Orb Prime.
It's still a 4v4, but Neft is so low. He's basically a non-factor in this, so it looks like Indecisive are going to give this up at the end of the day. We're probably going over to Mav just to make sure that it is secured. There we go. And, I mean, good job on Neft surviving, mainly just out of sheer HP values at that point in the game. But we saw how powerful that Time Flux Band is. He used a portal from that one, got reset, jumped through that one, and then re-portaled again to make sure he could kill Neft. No, that was unsuccessful, and I mean, the long armor law missed either way because, unfortunately, it just did. And in the end, Shin, again, status got animation locked because on the Null Disruptor meant that the side of Sesh could be able to just walk on him, getting that kill, and an extra Mini Prime. And that Mini Prime is going to be active during this third Fang Tooth, which is a great boon for the side of Seths. And they will have to see if Indecisive can actually fight into it, or even want to.
You almost don't want to at this point, right? You are behind on levels, you're behind on farm, and all your lanes have been pressured against you, aside from maybe the off lane. So it is also a question of, do you really want your opponents to get bonus power and defenses? I would not think so, but we'll have to see how they will pull that off. Multiple members of the Chefs are looking at Import in the mid lane, trying to see if they can get a little hold of the situation. But Manq and Morose are nearby, and they know that if an engage happens, they will answer.
It's all a bit pacing around. Fang Tooth has spawned at this point. Cold is doing damage to it, whilst the rest of the team does create a nice front wall. Say is also in the mid lane, make sure that Indecisive cannot push in. And even without contention, it has been taken, and they are going to take the safe direction out from the dual lane for it. No combat whatsoever, just a free Fang Tooth from the side of Cess, and it is their third one. And I mean, it feels like Indecisive are just slowly losing this game, and it's not really anything they're doing. It's just Cess are taking these advantages. They're taking these early objectives because they have hit every single one so far, and Indecisive have just not been able to keep up.
Speaking of keeping up, the Chefs are on the way to take another kill here in the off lane. The Whiplash is connecting together with the Fury of the Heavens, connecting onto Morose. He's getting out of the fray just like that, easily with the Blast Flower, but that was still a lot of damage happening onto him.
I mean, it's the blink as well. Obviously, Greystone doesn't need the blink that much because of his Assault the Gate ability. and his jump anyway. And we get a black hole in the mid lane. Sin is going to also blink that away. So, I mean, that's 2 blinks burned from the side of Indecisive in just a couple of seconds. Mancue is also kind of out of position, but it's a Decker. He can be able to escape anyway. And recently, the question is now, all Prime is spawned. It's going to be recently the next objective. But can they do anything?
The hunt is on. Indecisive going right in there. The skewer is gonna connect onto import, but it's not gonna do much because sneaks will fall to Neft. And now they are on the retreat as they have no HP to speak of. Map will get import though, and now they want to keep it steady and just control the lanes and not chase too far because they already got what they came for.
Yeah, import's death is much more valuable for the side of Cess compared to the side of Sneaks. That could open up an all-prime opportunity, but both teams are still pretty healthy on, so it's still very, very risky. But a good shield wall from the side of Import just completely stopped Cold from doing any damage in that team fight. Did like Import was a bit too pushed up compared to the rest of his team, which did lead to his death. But overall, a fine sort of fight. But, I mean, recently, Indecisive does want this shutdown gold on the side of Cold, who I don't believe has died at all this game so far. So you can just get a quick scoreboard to confirm that statement if Zihi doesn't die. Then again, Zihi might die because Morose is looking around as well. We just see Cold has not died. He's 2-0-1. Mav is also 3-0-2. So 2 decent bounties on that side. Meanwhile, Indecisive, Mancue has got 2 kills and not died either. So a Decker having a shutdown gold is an interesting one, but it has happened this game.
They are pondering around this mid lane because they know that there are sharks in the water. And they don't want to engage them just yet. So for now, just keep your steady. Mancue throwing a ball of fire into Zihi's face, and he has to get out of the fray because right now, you cannot allow Indecisive to get any more kills than they have already. Sneaks and Zihi down there trying to find an opportunity, find that Riplash to open up the fray from Mav. But there is an energy lance connecting onto Shin. Not gonna get the root through, but Say will follow.
There's so much CC from the side of Cess that can just get a pick. Sneaks gets a decent amount of damage. It is going to hit with the status ball, but that is not going to be any sort of follow-up from the side of Indecisive. And now Cess, once again, has got that HP values, that advantage. They have got the phase healing online with the Wellspring and their passive. So any sort of engagement is going to be favouring Cess at this stage of the game. And, I mean, there's so much set up from the side of Cess. It's kind of insane. They are going to get a pick onto gold, but that's only half HP. But the assassination is not completed, though.
Say is trying to get out of the fray after that shield slam to the face. There's no way you can enter this fight so far. Neft will get taken down by Map, though, with the electrocute. And they're continuing on this hunt. Getting another beautiful stun in there. Sneaks coming to... Oh, wow. I'm sorry. I'm totally lost it there. But they're still going to try and see if they could get a Riplash. It's not going to connect, though.
I don't understand why Neft decided to jump down. He could have been safe standing up the top where Sin just wanted to get that damage a bit more, I guess, on the back line. Because there were multiple members low from the side of Cess, but none of them fell down. And, I mean, it's just a bit too over-aggressive Indecisive, who did get a good thing. They managed to get Cold low. He would have been out of that next team fight if they wanted to try and press it onto that All Prime. But with it being as it is, they only lost 1 member. With it being Neft, that's basically their team fight over. The Primal Fangtooth has also now spawned. So this is going to be an interesting sort of game. I know that Indecisive at least prefers the Primal Fangtooth themselves for that extra damage in these team fights. But what Cess really needs right now is that extra seizing ability. However, they are going to go around that Primal Fangtooth. If they can get this, they basically also secure Orb Prime, because you cannot fight a beefed up Primal Fangtooth Cess at this stage of the game. There's just no way.
Absolutely not. If you get a cold Primal Fangtooth buff, you will give them the whole cake. So don't let that happen. It's about time that the Indecisive takes a decision and tries to stop this engage before it is too late. As you said, the
45.
levels are ahead in favor of Chefs, but they're waiting it out. They're hiding in the grass and hopefully trying to see if they can bait someone into a perilous situation. Snake's coming out with the tether. It's not going to connect, but there is a seismic assault onto Sade that makes him forced to get out of fray. Sneak's going deep. Cold getting a kill with the Vaporize. And now they are on the retreat on the side of Indecisive. They are lacking a member. They have no way of answering this unless they want to take the risk. But will you really want to take the risk in this very situation? You certainly do if you're Morose. Make way as you're jumping in. The black hole coming in from top from Say. And that's finally going to be a kill on Manq despite the efforts of surviving for so long. Nef's actually answers by getting Say, and there's still a Primal Fangtooth up for grabs. Who's gonna take it? Sneaks gets a hold of Morose, and there's a long arm of the law again, getting a hold on to Shin. Shin getting Sneaks there. That was a lot of kills and a Primal Fangtooth in favor of the ships.
I mean, that could have gone a lot worse from the side of Indecisive if they do get 2 kills during that play. So it is a 2-for-2 during that team fight. But the Primal Fangtooth does go over the way to Cess just because there's no hunt from the side of Indecisive. Import was completely zoned away from his team because of the amount of work Sneaks was doing on the back line. It isn't the worst in the world. Obviously, say not having that on the black hole is going to be great for the side of Indecisive. But again, it's just going to be down to Cold, who has 300 CS. He has over 10 CS a minute. He is nearly full build at this point. He has got the Ignition Quiver going into most likely the tainted rounds just for the anti-heal. And I mean, Mav is taking 0 damage at this stage of the game. Granted, it is against Import and Manq. But I mean, what do you do with that sort of player?
Well, whatever you can do is the answer to many questions, and Mav only has one answer, and that is to be a meat shield to help out Cold, deal out the damage, and make sure that everyone else is safe. But as you said, like, there's so much pressure, you just have to keep it steady. They will actually get Import here with the Whiplash combo together with a Vaporize to answer this call, and now they're on to the Orb Prime with no members of Indecisive ready to start this fight. They want to keep their distance. They do not have their jungler available.
I mean, yeah, as soon as Import's killed, that's it. They have no sort of front line. They have no sort of ability to at least walk in, and that's multiple times Import has been caught out in this game so far. It just feels like he isn't that accustomed to playing the steal compared to what we've seen so far in these games. And now that they have got that double bubble buff of the Final Fantasy is probably not much longer at this point, they can start sieging these inhibitors. The towers are not going to survive for very long. They've already got 4 members in this inhibitor, and Indecisive haven't really been in the position to actually set up yet.
Absolutely not. The chefs have been cooking something spicy, and the spice is too much to handle for Indecisive at current times. They have not been eating too much chili right now. So they are not used to this kind of aggression, as they are getting 1 inhibitor so far down that it actually dies within the 30-minute mark. It has been a slow pace and a slow cooking process, but now we're finally here at the action at the last few minutes. That is EU special, baby.
EU special was the NA team who is doing it, and they're going to take these 2 inhibitors. The other duo lane is still pushed up to their tower, so there's no real chance of them sieging that, at least for now. So they are going to use their money, back off, and buy as much as they can. And we can just see the amount of armor that multiple members are building against Neft, who is obviously that main damage dealer. Neft is probably got that Demolisher online at least by now. But I feel like it's a bit too late at this stage of the game because, I mean, how do you kill Mav and Sneaks before Cold and say kill you? And, I mean, the answer to that is just it doesn't. Also, Cold buying that Initiation Quiver is very interesting. It gives you that extra shots around the side that do apply some on-hit effects at reduced effectiveness. So, not something you normally see on Trim Blast because it is a crit item, but it is effective in this case. Neft already goes low down by half due to the Vaporize. Say tries to get the kill using his Time Warp Band, but at the very least, this is going to force Neft away from this tower, and at least that's the last tower down being taken down for Cess. Only this inhibitor remains.
There's not a lot of resources left for the side of Indecisive. This is an unusual territory for this side. They have not been pressured this much in a long while.
Whoa.
Neft will actually use the long arm of the law connecting onto Sneaks, getting it down to a 5v4 situation. But that does not matter because Cold was here to help, making sure that import goes down, and together with that inhibitor as well, that just means it's free pickings for everybody. They get Shin as well, and now they have all lanes open. This might actually be the end, Falcon.
It certainly could be. Neft and Morose are still alive. They have got a frontliner and a damage dealer alive. But Zihi is alive. He can get out any of the backline for his team. Neft is going to take a ton of damage. Morose is going to go into his ultimate, but he doesn't gain much HP back from it and has to blink to survive. Neft is also going to have to go back to tower. There is minions in the core. The damage is being done. Is it going to be enough before those minions are taken down? Yes, it is. Cephs is going to go 3-0 in this Stress stage, and Indecisive have taken their first loss.
I don't know if we're in a parallel universe or something, but I just saw Indecisive lose. Well, okay. Today is a very interesting day for Predecessor, as I have seen for the first time Neft have a struggling game. It's so unusual to me to see that, but well played to the side of the chefs. They've been cooking for a long time, and now they're ready to serve the main dish, which is punishment for Indecisive. Well played.
Yeah, at the end of the day, though, it is Cess who played the team game more. Sneaks did a great job of making sure that backline could never support import, who was forced to walk up time and time again and was picked off. And that just led to Cess getting multiple buffs, multiple leads. And by the time that Indecisive could have maybe even try to do something, it was game over already. And I mean, they're still in it. Obviously, Swiss State is not a best of ones, as we have said before. And just to see if we can break that down even further, we are going to send it back to the desk to see why Cess beat Indecisive.
Thank you so much, Falcon and Woofy. Welcome back to the desk. Game 3 was a little bit different for all of us, eh? A little bit of farming simulator until the chefs eventually cooked Indecisive in the kitchen. First, it was one Fang Tooth for them, and then there were two, and then all of a sudden they had 4 Fang Tooths. They had that Primordial Blaze buff along with that Orb Prime, eventually taking down Indecisive's core. GG's Indecisive, they just got defeated, but what happened in game number 3, Lance Cecil?
What happened in there is what I told you was going to happen when we were going through the draft. They take Cold, protect the president. Zihi, a little bit of questionable positioning, honestly, from what I was watching and what we were kind of talking about during it. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. He was there. He was able to keep the right people alive. Sneaks doing a lot of damage. Mav doing a big amount of pulls, getting people at the right spot. Seismic showing up, using that time flux really effectively on the Gideon. They were everywhere they needed to be. They controlled neutral objectives very hard, and that's why they're one of the best teams in Predecessor.
Yep, and they definitely used those objectives to their advantage. But what else did you notice, Mugiwawa, during game number 3?
Well, it was a very interesting game because actually if we watch in the number of kill or in the number of CS, it felt like a very close game when it actually wasn't. And what came down here is like, I think like the dual lane on the side of the chef managing to get like a little bit of a lead, and suddenly also the Quang into the Greystone, Mav a little bit like faster than the Steel because the Steel jungle is kind of slow, and all those things compound together, give like a little tempo up on the side of the chef, which like secure this first Fang Tooth. And we have seen like before the second Fang Tooth, they get a tower, suddenly they finish second item, huge power spike, they can secure the next Fang Tooth, and all those things like slightly snowballed into each other, and without any CS lead or any kill lead, they started to get tower lead, objective lead, and that was just enough to just steamroll against like 2 teams that are like at very high level. As we see, like they keep winning, so they're gonna face each other. Those little small edge, they compound very fast and they can lead to a huge snowball.
Yep, and all those micro decisions make a difference in these games, ladies and gentlemen.